Imagine looking up at the sky in the year 2035. You hear nothing. Your radar sees nothing. There are no contrails stretching across the horizon, no roaring engines announcing the arrival of a fighter jet. And yet, somewhere overhead, an aircraft is already watching everything. It isn't flying alone. Invisible to you are several autonomous drones spread across hundreds of kilometers, silently sharing information with satellites, ships, ground stations, and one another. Every radar pulse, every electronic transmission, every movement is collected, analyzed, and fused into a single picture of the battlefield. By the time the enemy realizes they've been detected, the engagement may already be over. This isn't science fiction. It's the future that Britain, Japan, and Italy believe is coming. And instead of upgrading yesterday's aircraft to survive tomorrow's war, they've chosen something far more ambitious. They're building an entirely new generation of combat aircraft. Not just a fighter, a flying command center, a battlefield intelligence hub, a machine designed to think, coordinate, and dominate in ways no operational fighter has ever attempted before. It's called the Global Combat Air Program, or simply known as GCAP. And if its designers succeed, it could redefine what a fighter aircraft actually is. But before we can understand the aircraft itself, we need to answer a much bigger question. Why would three countries on opposite sides of the world decide to build one of the most expensive military projects in modern history, together? For decades, military aviation followed a familiar pattern. Every generation of fighter aircraft improved upon the last. Aircraft flew faster, higher, farther. Radars became more powerful. Missiles reached greater distances. Computers became faster. Stealth transformed how aircraft survived. Each generation represented another step forward. Then something changed. The battlefield itself began evolving faster than the aircraft designed to fight within it. Long-range precision missiles became increasingly lethal. Electronic warfare advanced dramatically. Space-based surveillance expanded. Artificial intelligence matured from experimental software into practical military technology. Uncrewed aircraft became cheaper, smarter, and more capable every year. Suddenly, building a faster fighter wasn't enough, because modern warfare was no longer about the aircraft alone. It was becoming about information. Who detects first? Who understands first? Who decides first? Who strikes first? Victory increasingly belongs to the side that processes information faster than its opponent. That realization lies at the heart of GCAP. Its designers are not simply trying to build another stealth fighter. They're attempting to build an aircraft that can thrive inside an information war. Every great military project begins with a question. For the Americans, that question led to the F-22 Raptor. Later, it produced the F-35 Lightning II. But by the early 2020s, Britain's defense planners, Italy's aerospace industry, and Japan's military were arriving at the same uncomfortable conclusion. Their current fleets would eventually grow old. The world around them would not. Each country faced unique challenges. Britain needed to preserve its advanced aerospace industry while maintaining the ability to project power alongside NATO allies. Italy required a future combat aircraft capable of operating across Europe and the Mediterranean, while sustaining one of Europe's most sophisticated aerospace sectors. Japan faced perhaps the greatest strategic challenge of all. As an island nation surrounded by vast stretches of ocean, it must monitor enormous areas every day. Any future conflict would likely involve long distances, advanced missile systems, electronic warfare, and increasingly capable aircraft operating across the Indo-Pacific. Although their security environments differed, the technological problem was remarkably similar. No single nation wanted to shoulder the staggering cost of developing an entirely new sixth-generation fighter alone. History had already demonstrated how expensive these projects could become. Development stretches over decades. Costs climb into tens of billions of dollars. Thousands of engineers contribute millions of hours of work before the first operational aircraft ever reaches a squadron. Instead of competing separately, Britain, Italy, and Japan made a decision rarely seen at this scale. They would build one aircraft together. International defense partnerships are never simple. Different governments have different priorities. Different industries compete for contracts. Different militaries often want different capabilities. Yet GCAP has continued to move forward. The reason is simple. Each partner contributes strengths the others value. Britain brings decades of experience designing advanced combat aircraft and integrating complex military systems. Italy contributes world-class aerospace engineering and sophisticated electronic technologies. Japan contributes exceptional expertise in advanced manufacturing, sensors, and high-precision electronics. Rather than duplicating one another's work, the partnership distributes responsibilities across industries that have spent decades mastering different fields. In many ways, GCAP resembles the construction of an orchestra. Each country plays a different instrument. Only together can they perform the full composition. And recently, that orchestra became far more organized. The industrial side of the program has now been consolidated under Edgewing, the joint venture responsible for designing and developing the aircraft. At the same time, the participating governments established the GCAP International Government Organization, ensuring that political oversight and industrial development move together instead of pulling in different directions. That might sound like administrative detail. In reality, it marks the moment GCAP transformed from an ambitious concept into a structured international program with clearly defined responsibilities. Perhaps even more importantly, the governments have committed billions toward making it happen. Those investments demonstrate something crucial. This aircraft is no longer simply an artist's impression displayed at international air shows. It's being built. Of course, whenever concept art of GCAP appears online, attention immediately turns to its appearance. People compare it to the F-22. Others see similarities with the B-2 Spirit. Some compare it to experimental aircraft from science fiction films, but focusing only on its shape misses the point. Every unusual curve, every smooth surface, every carefully aligned edge exists because of one relentless enemy: radar. For over a century, military aircraft announced their presence by reflecting radio waves back toward hostile sensors. Stealth fundamentally changes that relationship. Instead of reflecting radar energy directly back toward its source, carefully designed aircraft scatter or absorb much of that energy, dramatically reducing the distance at which they can be detected. Notice something important. Stealth is never magic. No aircraft simply disappears. Detection becomes harder. Tracking becomes more difficult. Reaction time becomes shorter. And in aerial combat, seconds often decide who survives. Yet physical stealth may become only one layer of protection. The future battlefield is increasingly dominated by electronics. Every radar emission, every radio transmission, every electronic signature becomes another opportunity for detection. Surviving tomorrow may require controlling not only what the aircraft looks like, but also what it sounds like electronically. That challenge leads us toward one of GCAP's least visible and potentially most important capabilities: electronic warfare, not by destroying enemy radars, but by confusing them, overloading them, deceiving them, or convincing them the aircraft was never there in the first place. Because in modern warfare, Sometimes the greatest victory is preventing your opponent from ever realizing they've already lost. Ask someone what makes a fighter powerful, and most people will mention speed, maybe missiles, perhaps maneuverability, engine power, stealth. Those things still matter, but tomorrow's fighter may derive its greatest strength from something impossible to see. Information. Imagine walking into a room where hundreds of people are speaking simultaneously. Individually, every voice becomes difficult to follow. Yet somehow your brain filters the chaos into meaningful conversations. GCAP must perform a similar task every second it flies. Its radar scans the sky. Infrared sensors search for heat. Electronic receivers monitor hostile transmissions. Friendly aircraft share information. Ships contribute their own sensor data. Ground stations report new contacts. Satellites add another layer of awareness. Instead of overwhelming the pilot with hundreds of separate alerts, the aircraft's mission systems aim to transform countless fragments into one coherent picture. Not more information, better information. The difference sounds subtle. On a battlefield, it could mean everything, because the pilot who understands first usually acts first, and the pilot who acts first often wins. That philosophy may ultimately define sixth-generation aviation more than speed, altitude, or even stealth itself. The aircraft becomes less of a machine and more of a decision-making partner. Which raises another extraordinary possibility. What if the fighter doesn't have to fight alone? GCAP isn't just another fighter jet. It represents a glimpse into what air warfare may become over the next several decades. But one question remains. Will it truly become the world's first successful sixth-generation fighter, or will another nation get there first? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy in-depth documentaries exploring the world's most advanced military technology, subscribe and join me for the next deep dive. Thanks for watching.